set out to make a documentary about the pros and cons of the Lisbon Treaty, but we discovered something much worse. You'll find out from members of the European Parliament themselves and other researchers that not only did the drafters of the Lisbon Treaty remove the word constitution, keeping 98% of what the French and Dutch rejected, they also made the treaty unreadable and deceptive. Their actions to hide the true intentions of the treaty has made researchers dig even deeper. Their deception has backfired on them and has fully revealed them. 26 other countries of the EU have betrayed its people by not giving them a vote on the treaty. Only Ireland has the power to stop it. Only Ireland will be given a referendum to save democracy and freedom for the people of the EU by voting no for them. And make no mistake, this treaty is tyrannical and it will end democracy, as you will hear from the MEPs. This is the biggest threat to Ireland since we won our independence, and the fate of 500 million people lies in our hands.
Because you should know that what is published until now, signed by the Prime Ministers, is a text they have never ever read. Never. Why? Because it can't be read. This is not a treaty. This is 300 pages of amendments to 3,000 other pages of treaties. And you can only read it if you take one amendment by one and then look it up in the existing treaties and insert it. We will do that job for you, so that you will have a reader-friendly edition that's possible. They have decided in the Council that it's not allowed for any institution in the European Union to print a consolidated version which can be read before it has been approved in all 27 member states. This is a decision. The European Parliament, we agreed unanimously in the Constitutional Affairs Committee that we wanted a reader-friendly edition, a consolidated version, which could be read unanimously. We will not have it, because higher powers decided we cannot have it. This is an instruction from some prime ministers. They do not want the text to be read. The order is signed.
While immigrant workers can be a benefit to a country, an oversupply is damaging to the economy, especially to the middle class, the majority of the people. In 2004, the EU expanded, bringing in 10 new members with a population of 75 million, mostly from the former Soviet bloc. 12 of the existing 15 EU countries blocked these workers from coming into their labour market. Only Ireland, Britain and Sweden completely opened the doors to these workers, bringing in a huge influx of immigrants in a very short time and having a huge effect on a delicate labour market balance. Most of the former countries changed their mind later, allowing these workers in.
Things like the Lavelle judgment, it's going to now allow whatever Lithuanian company to come into Ireland and pay $8.50. So overall, it's going to bring the wages way down on the north. It's going to end a lot of social protections which we're already seeing in Ireland with the poor hospital services, etc.
The court in Luxembourg took a very important and far-reaching decision in the so-called Lavelle case. A Latvian company went to Sweden, built a school, the Latvian salaries. The trade unions in Sweden were not against foreigners coming helping to build a school, but they insisted that those who come should go for a Swedish salary when they work in Sweden. This case was then brought to the court, and Sweden was outlawed by the court. So it's now legal in Ireland, and the Constitution, Lisbon Treaty, will legalize it formally by approving the verdicts, the existing verdicts. It's now legal for foreign companies to come to Ireland, the foreign labor, and give them the salary they deserve at home in Latvia at home. In Denmark, you can go and work for 40 cents an hour. We have 85% of our workers in trade unions, so no one goes for 45 cents and work. But it's not a law. So in Denmark, when implemented now in Denmark, Latvian workers can go for 45 cents work legally in Denmark.
One of the biggest proposals in the Lisbon Treaty is that for the first time we will be handing over our criminal law to the EU, Instead of our rights being enshrined in our Constitution and upheld by our Supreme Court, we will now be at the mercy of faceless judges in the European Courts of Justice. This is a very sinister new proposal, and we should be extremely wary of handing over this power.
If there's any Irish or national law that conflicts with that, or the terms of which conflict with that, well then the EU law prevails.
If, for instance, Spain or the UK would ask to take you for some suspicion of some crime, then the Irish judge shall only ask what is your name, and if your name is what is wanted, the Irish authorities are obliged to deliver you for eventually 4 years prison in Spain without being put for a judge. That's insane. Religion is illegal under the Lisbon Treaty. Even religion is a question touched by the Constitution and the Lisbon Treaty in the same way.
One of the biggest lies we are constantly being told is that the EU is vital for our economy. This is done by equating the EU with a common market. However, other countries in Europe like Norway and Switzerland have full access to this market without being members of the EU. The question is real wealth created by entrepreneurs and workers or sheltered bureaucrats and politicians in Europe?
And an interesting statistic is that Norway, Switzerland and Iceland have bigger imports into the EU than we do. Their imports to the EU are bigger because they have all the economic advantages without the disadvantage of membership.
The following section might shock you. You will be thinking, how could such a system be contemplated for a democracy, let alone be implemented, and why is it deliberately deceptive? Everything in this brief summary is backed up and will be presented. The European Council, made up of 27 Prime Ministers from the EU countries. The President of the EU will be decided on in private/secret negotiations instead of being democratically elected. France's President Sarkozy has informally proposed Tony Blair as the first EU President, which could last up to 5 years. The self-amending Article 48 of the Lisbon Treaty gives these 27 EU Prime Ministers the right to amend all treaties on their own. The Commission proposes laws and is made up of unelected civil servants. The Commission President will be chosen by the 27 people on the EU Council. The other members would be selected by the Commission President on the basis of suggestions from governments, from which the unelected Commission President can choose whoever he likes. The European Parliament cannot decide on and elect a name of their own. Every 15 years the selected Irish Commissioner would be removed for a period of 5 years. The Council of Ministers, made up of ordinary ministers, ministers of agriculture, etc. In the EU not all laws are voted on. If one is pushed to a vote, this group will decide by qualified majority voting, in which 4 of the largest countries could dominate. They decide mostly from behind closed doors, and the documents from the legislative meetings are not even available for members of the EU Parliament. The EU Parliament. Our elected MEPs have the least amount of power. They can only make suggestions. Even their suggestion powers are limited. They are not allowed to suggest a new law, only to make suggestions for amendments of a draft law, which comes down to them. The non-elected members of the Commission decide whether these suggestions have a chance or not. Ireland and other small countries will lose more MEP seats as new members join, as expected from the Balkans. The working groups. There are over 3,000 working groups made up of unknown members. These working groups hold a tremendous amount of power. In practice, 85% of all European laws are decided in secret working groups under the Council and the Commission. MPs, MEPs and the public have no access that would enable them to follow this legislative process. The Lisbon Treaty will hand over even more areas of power to the EU, and if there is any conflict between EU law and our national law, EU law will prevail, making the Irish Constitution invalid.
So, the core in the Lisbon Treaty, that's to move decisions away from the smaller member states to the bigger member states, but also from the voters